Barron Trump spots a man begging for food. What he does next shocks the entire street. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over Washington, D.C.'s bustling streets. Barron Trump, now a thoughtful teenager, was enjoying a rare evening stroll with his family. The crisp autumn air carried the sounds of city life, honking cars, distant chatter, and the occasional melody from a street performer. As they walked past the historic monuments, Barron's keen eyes caught a figure huddled near the base of the Lincoln Memorial. It was a man in his late 50s, his clothes worn and tattered, a thin blanket wrapped around his shoulders. A small sign beside him read, "Hungry. Please help." Barron felt a pang of empathy. He glanced at his parents, who were engaged in conversation, oblivious to the man's plight. Without hesitation, he stepped off the sidewalk and approached the man. "Hi, I'm Barron," he greeted warmly. "Are you okay?" The man looked up, his eyes weary but hopeful. "Just hungry," he replied softly. Barron reached into his pocket and pulled out a granola bar. "Here, take this," he offered, handing it over. The man's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you, son," he said, his voice trembling slightly. As Barron turned to rejoin his family, he noticed a small crowd beginning to gather. Curious onlookers observed the interaction, some whispering among themselves. Little did Barron know, this simple act of kindness was about to set off a chain of events that would captivate the entire street. Barron continued his walk, the encounter lingering in his mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the man he had helped. As he rounded a corner, he heard murmurs and saw people pointing in his direction. "Hey, isn't that Barron Trump?" one passerby whispered to another. Barron realized that his actions were being noticed. A sense of unease settled over him, but he maintained his composure, continuing down the street. Meanwhile, the man he had helped stood up, folding his blanket neatly. He glanced around, his eyes meeting those of a young woman who had been observing the scene. Without a word, he began to walk away, his steps purposeful yet cautious. As he disappeared into the crowd, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. People began to speculate about the man's identity and the reason behind Barron's gesture. Social media buzzed with the story, each retelling adding layers of mystery. Back at home, Barron's parents noticed his preoccupation. "Everything all right, Barron?" his mother asked gently. "Yeah, just thinking about that guy I helped," Barron replied, trying to mask his lingering curiosity. His father nodded, not pressing further. Little did they know, the evening's events were far from over. The next morning, news outlets picked up the story of Barron Trump's encounter with the homeless man. Headlines highlighted his compassion, drawing praise from all corners. However, one investigative journalist, Sarah Mitchell, sensed there was more to the story. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah delved into the man's background. After hours of research, she discovered a shocking connection. The man was a former high-ranking government official who had fallen from grace under mysterious circumstances. Intrigued, Sarah decided to track him down. She believed that his story could unveil hidden truths about political intrigue and personal redemption. Meanwhile, the story continued to spread, captivating the public's attention. Back in Washington, D.C., the former official Thomas Reed lived a life of solitude, keeping a low profile after a scandal that had tarnished his reputation. His reasons for begging were complex, intertwined with personal failures and political fallout. As Sarah closed in on Thomas's location, Barron remained unaware of the impending revelations. His act of kindness had unknowingly connected him to a past filled with secrets and unfinished business. Sarah's investigation led her to a small cafe near the National Mall, where Thomas Reed was rumored to frequent. She arrived early, scanning the room for any sign of him. Moments later, Thomas walked in, his presence understated yet commanding. Sarah approached him cautiously. "Mr. Reed, my name is Sarah Mitchell. I'd like to speak with you about your story." Thomas looked up, his eyes reflecting a mix of weariness and caution. "I don't have much to say," he replied curtly. "I believe your story could help people understand what happened," Sarah insisted gently. After a moment of hesitation, Thomas agreed to talk. As they sat down, he began to unravel his tale, his rise in politics, the events that led to his downfall, and the personal struggles that followed. Unbeknownst to Sarah, Their conversation was being watched from a distance by an unknown figure. The stakes were higher than she could have imagined, and the truth was about to surface in ways neither of them anticipated. As Sarah left the cafe, she pondered over the information Thomas had shared. It was a story of ambition, betrayal, and redemption, but something didn't add up. There were gaps in the narrative that hinted at deeper conspiracies. Determined to dig deeper, Sarah revisited the details of Barron Trump's interaction with Thomas. She hypothesized that Barron's act of kindness was more than a random gesture. It was a pivotal moment that could bridge the past and present. Meanwhile, Barron noticed an increase in attention from both the media and his peers. While some admired his generosity, others speculated about his motives. The pressure began to weigh on him, especially as he sensed that his life was becoming intertwined with forces beyond his control. One evening, as Barron walked home, he received an unexpected message on his phone, a video clip of his interaction with Thomas, now edited to hint at a hidden agenda. Shocked and confused, Barron realized that his innocent act had unwittingly thrust him into a complex web of secrets and manipulations. Feeling overwhelmed, Barron confided in his close friend, Emma, about the strange developments. Emma, known for her sharp intellect and resourcefulness, suggested they investigate the matter together. They began by retracing Barron's steps from that evening, hoping to find clues about Thomas Reed's true identity and intentions. Their search led them to old newspaper archives, government records, and interviews with people who had known Thomas. As they delved deeper, they uncovered startling connections between Thomas and high-ranking officials, including members of Barron's own extended family. The revelation shook Barron to his core, questioning the integrity of those he admired. Meanwhile, Sarah Mitchell continued her pursuit of the truth, unaware that her paths would soon cross with Barron and Emma. The threads of their stories were converging, setting the stage for a confrontation that could change everything. One evening, Barron and Emma received an anonymous tip directing them to a secluded park where Thomas Reed was said to frequent. They arrived cautiously, finding Thomas sitting alone on a bench, his expression troubled. "Mr. Reed," Barron approached, his voice steady despite the nervousness swirling inside him. "We need to talk." Thomas looked up, surprise evident in his eyes. "You again. What do you want?" Emma stepped forward, her gaze intense. "We know there's more to your story. Why did you accept Barron's help?" Thomas sighed deeply, the weight of years evident on his shoulders. Barron's gesture wasn't just about food. It was about connection, something I lost long ago. Before they could probe further, a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, blocking their path. "Leave now," the figure commanded, his voice cold and authoritative. Unbeknownst to Barron and Emma, they were being watched by those who wanted the past to remain buried. The trio stood face to face, the tension palpable as secrets threatened to surface. The mysterious figure stepped closer, revealing himself as Agent Collins, a former associate of Thomas Reed. His eyes were stern, and his demeanor unyielding. "Thomas, we need to go," he said firmly. "Now is not the time." Thomas glanced between Barron and Emma, his expression conflicted. "They won't let me expose the truth," he muttered. Barron stepped forward, determination in his stance. "We can help you. Don't let them silence you." Agent Collins shook his head. "You don't understand the forces at play. This goes beyond personal grudges." Emma interjected, her voice unwavering. "We understand that hiding the truth only perpetuates the corruption. Let us help." For a moment, Agent Collins seemed to waver, torn between duty and empathy. Finally he sighed, his resolve softening. "Very well. But you must be cautious. They won't hesitate to eliminate anyone who threatens their interests." With that, he signaled to his team, and they began to leave. Thomas looked at Barron and Emma, a silent plea in his eyes. "Time is running out. We need to act quickly." Back at Barron's home, the atmosphere was tense. Barron's parents sensed the gravity of the situation, urging him to stay vigilant. Emma assured them that they were on the right path, but the uncertainty loomed large. Thomas Reed began to divulge the intricate details of his downfall. Years ago, he had uncovered a conspiracy involving high-ranking officials misusing power for personal gain. His attempts to expose them led to his public disgrace and eventual ruin. "The corruption runs deep," Thomas explained. "I couldn't find allies until I met Barron." His simple act of kindness was a reminder that integrity still exists. As Thomas spoke, Barron realized that his family's legacy might be intertwined with the very corruption Thomas sought to expose. Questions about loyalty, justice, and morality filled his mind, but the answers remained elusive. Meanwhile, Sarah Mitchell continued her investigation, her instincts pointing towards a major political scandal. Her paths were destined to cross with Barron, Emma, and Thomas, setting the stage for an alliance that could shake the foundations of power. Determined to uncover the truth, Barron, Emma, and Thomas decided to collaborate. They knew that exposing the conspiracy would require strategic planning and undeniable evidence. Sarah Mitchell reached out, proposing a meeting to share her findings. Reluctantly, Barron agreed, understanding the value of her investigative prowess. The three of them convened in a secure location, laying out their pieces of the puzzle. The conspiracy involved several influential figures who had manipulated policies for personal enrichment, hiding their actions behind a facade of public service. Thomas had been the first to uncover the scheme, but his attempts to reveal it were thwarted by powerful adversaries. As they connected the dots, the scope of the corruption became clear. It wasn't just local, it spanned national borders, affecting policies that impacted millions. The trio realized the magnitude of their mission, to bring these truths to light without becoming targets themselves. With a clear objective, the group devised a plan to collect irrefutable evidence. They knew that to succeed, they needed insider information and documents that could withstand scrutiny. Thomas, with his insider knowledge, guided them through the labyrinth of deceit. He provided access to contacts who were willing to speak, despite the risks. Sarah utilized her investigative skills to verify the authenticity of the information, ensuring that their findings were bulletproof. Barron, leveraging his unique position and resources, facilitated meetings and discreetly gathered materials that could support their case. His ability to navigate social circles without drawing suspicion proved invaluable, allowing them to operate under the radar. Days turned into nights as they worked tirelessly, the weight of their mission pressing upon them. The stakes were high, and the danger palpable, but their resolve remained unshaken. Together, they were a formidable team, united by a common goal, to restore integrity and justice. After weeks of meticulous effort, a breakthrough occurred. They obtained a series of classified documents that detailed the extent of the corruption, including financial transactions, meeting records, and personal correspondences among the conspirators. The evidence was overwhelming, leaving no room for doubt. With this information, they had the power to expose the conspiracy to the world. However, they also knew that revealing it would ignite a firestorm of opposition from those implicated. Before proceeding, they devised a strategy to ensure their safety and the credibility of their revelations. They decided to collaborate with trusted media outlets and legal experts to present the information responsibly and effectively. As they prepared to make their move, Agent Collins reappeared, his demeanor more conciliatory. "You're playing a dangerous game," he warned. "There are forces that won't stop until you're silenced." Barron met his gaze steadily. "We understand the risks, but the truth must come out. It's the right thing to do." Agent Collins nodded, a hint of respect in his eyes. "Just be careful. You're not the only ones who want this information out there." With that, he left, leaving the group to focus on their mission. The moment of truth was approaching, and the consequences were inevitable. The day arrived when the group decided to release the evidence to the public. Coordinating with Sarah and trusted journalists, they orchestrated a simultaneous release across multiple platforms to ensure maximum impact. The headlines were explosive, detailing the depths of the conspiracy and naming key figures involved. Social media erupted with reactions. Outrage, disbelief, and calls for accountability flooded the digital landscape. As the news spread, protests erupted in major cities, demanding justice and transparency. Law enforcement agencies were pressured to act, and internal investigations were launched to address the corruption. Barron found himself at the center of the storm, his actions scrutinized and debated by the public. While many hailed him as a hero, others questioned his motives and the implications of his involvement. Through it all, he remained steadfast, supported by Emma, Thomas, and Sarah. However, the victory was bittersweet. The revelation had unmasked deep-seated issues within the system, and the road to reform was long and arduous. The group knew that their work was just beginning, but they took solace in the progress they had made. As the dust settled, the backlash from the conspirators intensified. Threats and intimidation attempts became commonplace, targeting not just Barron but everyone associated with the exposure. Private messages and anonymous calls warned them to cease their efforts or face dire consequences. The psychological toll was immense, testing their resilience and commitment to the cause. Undeterred, the group sought legal protection and support from allies who believed in their mission. Public opinion remained divided, but the momentum for change continued to grow. Amidst the chaos, personal relationships were strained. Barron struggled to balance his public role with his private life, while Emma faced professional setbacks due to her association with the scandal. Thomas, too, grappled with the resurfacing of past traumas, finding solace in the progress they were making. Through it all, their bond strengthened, united by a shared vision of a just and transparent society. They understood that the path ahead was fraught with challenges, but their determination never wavered. As the investigation deepened, new layers of the conspiracy emerged, revealing connections to international entities and illicit operations. The scope of the corruption was more extensive than anyone had anticipated, hinting at a global network of deceit and manipulation. Sarah uncovered evidence suggesting that certain political figures were using their influence to shape policies that benefited their interests, disregarding the welfare of the public. The revelations were staggering, painting a bleak picture of systemic corruption. Meanwhile, Agent Collins provided crucial insights into the inner workings of the conspirators, offering information that could lead to their downfall. His knowledge was instrumental, but his motives remained unclear, adding an element of uncertainty to the group's efforts. As the team navigated through the complexities of the investigation, they realized that their mission had transformed from exposing corruption to dismantling an entrenched power structure. The implications were profound, raising questions about the very foundation of governance and accountability. A pivotal moment arrived when the group received information about a high-profile meeting scheduled between key conspirators. This meeting was the opportunity they needed to gather irrefutable evidence that would seal the fate of those involved. Barron, Emma, Sarah, and Thomas devised a plan to infiltrate the meeting, ensuring they could document the illicit activities without being detected. The operation required precision and courage, as the stakes were higher than ever. Under the cover of darkness, they approached the designated location, blending into the shadows. Using concealed recording devices, they captured conversations and transactions that left no room for doubt about the conspirators' guilt. As the meeting progressed, the evidence collected was beyond what they had hoped for. The integrity of the investigation was solidified, providing the final pieces needed to hold the perpetrators accountable. However, just as they were about to leave, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. One of the conspirators, recognizing the group's presence, confronted them, leading to a tense standoff that could have ended in disaster. The confrontation was intense, with emotions running high on both sides. The conspirator, desperate to protect his interests, threatened retribution, while the group stood their ground, unwavering in their resolve. In the heat of the moment, Agent Collins appeared, intervening to de-escalate the situation. His timely intervention prevented a potentially dangerous outcome, but it also raised more questions about his true allegiance. As tensions cooled, the group realized the gravity of their situation. They were not only fighting against corruption but also navigating a web of personal agendas and hidden motives. Trust became a precious commodity, and alliances were tested. Determined to push forward, they focused on safeguarding the evidence and ensuring its dissemination to the appropriate channels. The road ahead was perilous, but their commitment to justice propelled them forward. With the incontrovertible evidence in hand, the group made their final preparations to present their findings to the world. They coordinated with multiple media outlets, ensuring that the truth would reach every corner of society. The unveiling was a momentous event, attended by dignitaries, journalists, and activists. As the evidence was laid bare, the room erupted in reactions. Anger, sorrow, and a collective demand for accountability echoed through the air. Law enforcement officials moved swiftly to arrest the implicated individuals, dismantling the corrupt network piece by piece. The legal ramifications were significant, leading to high-profile trials and a re-evaluation of policies that had been compromised. Barron, once a figure of privilege, had become a symbol of integrity and courage. His journey from a simple act of kindness to a catalyst for change inspired countless others to stand up against injustice. In the weeks following the exposure, Washington, D.C. underwent a transformation. Reforms were implemented to prevent future corruption, and transparency became a cornerstone of governance. The impact of the group's efforts was felt nationwide, sparking a movement towards greater accountability. Barron returned to his routine, but his perspective had forever changed. He became an advocate for social justice, using his platform to promote positive change and support those in need. His relationship with his family strengthened, built on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. Emma continued her career in journalism, driven by a passion to uncover the truth and hold the powerful accountable. Sarah's reporting earned her acclaim, cementing her reputation as a formidable investigative journalist. Thomas Reed found peace in knowing that his past sacrifices had contributed to a better future. His collaboration with the group brought closure to years of regret, allowing him to move forward with dignity. Just as the group began to celebrate their success, a new revelation emerged, threatening to undo everything they had achieved. A series of encrypted messages suggested that the conspiracy was merely the tip of the iceberg, hinting at even deeper layers of deceit and manipulation. The messages pointed to influential figures who had evaded capture, operating behind the scenes to maintain their grip on power. The group realized that their battle was far from over, and that the fight for justice would continue. Determined to uncover the remaining secrets, Barron, Emma, Sarah, and Thomas prepared to embark on a new mission. The unexpected twist reinvigorated their commitment, reminding them that the pursuit of truth was an ongoing journey. As they stood united, ready to face the challenges ahead, they understood that their actions had sparked a movement that would endure, inspiring future generations to uphold the values of integrity, compassion, and resilience. The revelation that the conspiracy was only the tip of the iceberg sent a chill down the group's spines. Barron, Emma, Sarah, and Thomas knew that the path to true justice was fraught with more challenges than they had initially anticipated. The encrypted messages they had uncovered hinted at a clandestine network operating beneath the surface of the political landscape, manipulating events to maintain their grip on power. Determined to delve deeper, the group reconvened at Barron's home. The weight of their mission pressed upon them, but their resolve remained unshaken. Barron sat at the center, his mind racing with possibilities. "We need to find out who these people are and what they're planning next," he stated firmly. Emma nodded, her eyes sharp with determination. "We've already made significant progress, but there are still gaps in our knowledge. We need to identify the key players and understand their motivations." Sarah, ever the meticulous investigator, spread out the encrypted messages on the table. These messages contain references to upcoming political maneuvers and financial transactions that haven't been made public yet. If we can decode them fully, we might be able to predict their next move. Thomas leaned forward, his experience invaluable. "I have contacts who can help us gain access to more information. It won't be easy, but it's necessary." As the night wore on, the group worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of information and formulating a strategy. They knew that every step forward would bring them closer to uncovering the truth, but also deeper into danger. The next morning, the group met with Thomas's trusted contact, a former intelligence officer named Marcus Lee. Marcus had the expertise to decode the encrypted messages and access sensitive databases that could shed light on the clandestine network. In a dimly lit basement office, Marcus set to work. These messages use a combination of cipher techniques. "It's not something you can break without the right tools and knowledge," he explained. Hours passed as Marcus meticulously decrypted the messages. Finally, he leaned back, wiping sweat from his brow. "Got it. The messages are detailing a series of strategic moves aimed at consolidating power within key government sectors. There's talk of manipulating elections, controlling media narratives, and diverting funds for personal gain." Barron felt a surge of anger and determination. "We have to stop them. We can't let this corruption continue." Emma added, "But we need undeniable evidence. Something that can't be ignored or dismissed." Marcus nodded. "I can help you access some of their internal communications and financial records. It's risky, but it's the only way to build a watertight case against them." The group knew that they were venturing into dangerous territory, but the stakes were too high to turn back now. With Marcus's help, they began to gather the evidence needed to expose the full extent of the conspiracy. As the group delved deeper into the conspiracy, they uncovered connections that extended far beyond national borders. International arms deals, illicit financial transactions, and covert operations were all part of the elaborate scheme designed to maintain the conspirators' power and influence. One evening, as they reviewed the latest findings, Sarah made a startling discovery. "Look at this. These transactions are linked to offshore accounts in multiple countries. It's like they've built an empire that's immune to scrutiny." Barron frowned, the magnitude of the situation sinking in. "This isn't just about corruption. It's about global manipulation. We need to inform the authorities, but we have to be careful. They might already know we're onto them." Emma interjected, her voice steady. "We need to create a comprehensive dossier and present it to trusted officials who can protect us. Public exposure alone might not be enough." Thomas agreed. "I can reach out to some old contacts who owe me favors. They can help us navigate the political landscape and ensure that our evidence is taken seriously." The group worked around the clock, their efforts driven by a shared sense of purpose. The more they uncovered, the clearer it became that exposing this network would require not just evidence, but also strategic alliances and unwavering courage. With the dossier complete, the group prepared to present their findings to key officials. They scheduled a secure meeting with a high-ranking senator known for his integrity and commitment to fighting corruption. The meeting took place in a secluded office within the Capitol building. The senator listened intently as Barron, Emma, Sarah, and Thomas laid out their evidence. The senator's expression grew increasingly serious as he reviewed the documents. "This is unprecedented," he remarked. "If what you're saying is true, it implicates some of the most powerful individuals in the country, and possibly beyond. We need to move quickly and discreetly to prevent any potential backlash." The senator assured them that he would spearhead the investigation, leveraging his influence to protect them and ensure that justice was served. "We'll take this to the next level," he promised. "But you need to stay low and keep this information between us until we have a solid plan in place." As the group left the meeting, a sense of hope mixed with anxiety filled the air. They had taken a significant step toward dismantling the conspiracy, but the road ahead remained perilous. Days turned into weeks as the investigation gained momentum. Whispers of the scandal began to surface in the media, stirring public outrage and demands for accountability. However, the conspirators were equally determined to protect their interests and maintain their facade of legitimacy. One evening, Barron received an anonymous message threatening him and his loved ones if he continued his pursuit of the truth. The message was clear: back off or face the consequences. Barron shared the threat with the group, and a sense of urgency heightened their resolve. "They're getting desperate. It means we're making progress," he said, trying to stay optimistic despite the fear that gnawed at him. Emma suggested enhancing their security measures and being more cautious with their communications. "We can't afford any mistakes now. They'll go to any lengths to stop us." Meanwhile, Sarah worked tirelessly to coordinate with journalists and legal experts to ensure that the evidence was handled properly. The senator's involvement provided a layer of protection, but the group remained vigilant, knowing that the conspirators were always lurking in the shadows. The culmination of their efforts was imminent. The senator had gathered enough support to initiate formal investigations, and the evidence was set to be presented to a grand jury. The public was on edge, awaiting the outcome with bated breath. On the day of the grand jury hearing, the group assembled at Barron's home one last time to prepare. Barron felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. "This is it. Everything we've worked for comes down to today." As they made their way to the courthouse, the tension was palpable. Media outlets had set up nearby, sensing a major development was about to unfold. The atmosphere was electric, with supporters and skeptics alike eager for the truth to prevail. Inside the courtroom, the grand jury proceedings were intense. The prosecutor presented the evidence methodically, detailing the intricate web of corruption and manipulation orchestrated by the conspirators. The testimonies were compelling, painting a vivid picture of deceit and power abuse. Barron took a deep breath, knowing that the culmination of their efforts was about to be realized. The grand jury deliberated for hours, the silence in the room heavy with anticipation. The grand jury reached a verdict: guilty on multiple counts of corruption, fraud, and conspiracy. The courtroom erupted in reactions: gasps, applause, and tears of relief as the truth was finally acknowledged. The conspirators were arrested and charged, their empires crumbling under the weight of the evidence. The senator's leadership ensured that the legal process was swift and just, sending a strong message that corruption would no longer be tolerated. Barron stood with his family and the group, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. "We did it," he whispered, the enormity of their victory sinking in. Emma smiled, her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and triumph. "This is just the beginning. We've set a precedent for transparency and accountability." Sarah added, "The media will continue to play a crucial role in keeping the public informed and preventing future abuses of power." Thomas, now at peace with his past, looked around at his newfound allies. "It's been a long journey, but seeing justice served makes it all worthwhile." As the courtroom emptied, the group knew that their actions had sparked a movement toward a more just and transparent society. Their bond, forged through adversity, was unbreakable, and their legacy would inspire future generations to stand up against injustice. In the aftermath of the scandal, Washington, D.C. experienced a wave of reforms aimed at increasing transparency and reducing opportunities for corruption. New policies were implemented, ensuring stricter oversight and accountability within government institutions. Barron, now recognized as a key figure in the fight against corruption, continued to use his platform to advocate for social justice and ethical governance. His experiences had transformed him, instilling a deep sense of responsibility and a commitment to making a positive impact on society. Emma's reporting earned her national acclaim, positioning her as a leading investigative journalist dedicated to uncovering the truth. She continued to work alongside Sarah, both driven by a shared passion for justice and integrity. Sarah, having proven her investigative prowess, took on more significant cases, unearthing truths that had been hidden for too long. Her dedication inspired a new generation of journalists to pursue the truth relentlessly. Thomas Reed, finally free from the shadows of his past, found solace in mentoring young activists and advocates. His journey from disgrace to redemption became a beacon of hope, illustrating that it's never too late to make amends and contribute positively to the world. 1 year later, the group gathered at a community center where they had spearheaded a series of seminars on anti-corruption and civic responsibility. The room was filled with enthusiastic participants eager to learn from their experiences. Barron addressed the crowd, his voice steady and confident. "Our journey taught us that change starts with a single act of courage. Each of us has the power to make a difference, no matter how daunting the challenge may seem." Emma shared her insights on the importance of a free press and the role of journalism in holding power accountable. "We must remain vigilant, always questioning and seeking the truth, even when it's uncomfortable." Sarah spoke about the ethical responsibilities of investigators and the importance of integrity in every step of the process. "The truth is a powerful tool. When wielded responsibly, it can dismantle the strongest of barriers." Thomas concluded with a heartfelt message on resilience and redemption. "No matter where you come from or what mistakes you've made, there's always a path to making things right. It's never too late to contribute to a better future." As the seminar concluded, the group felt a sense of fulfillment. They had not only exposed a deep-seated conspiracy but also ignited a movement toward a more just and transparent society. Their collective efforts had left an indelible mark, inspiring countless others to uphold the values of integrity, compassion, and resilience. Just as the group began to settle into their roles as advocates and leaders, a new piece of information surfaced that threatened to upend everything they had achieved. An encrypted message, even more sophisticated than the previous ones, hinted at a shadow organization with global reach, manipulating events from behind the scenes. The message contained coordinates and cryptic symbols, suggesting the existence of a hidden network that extended beyond national borders. It was clear that their battle against corruption was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun. Barron, Emma, Sarah, and Thomas met once more, the gravity of the situation evident in their expressions. "This new threat is more significant than anything we've faced so far," Barron stated. "We need to approach this with the same determination and caution." Emma agreed, "But we also need to ensure that we're not putting ourselves or others in unnecessary danger. This requires a strategic and well-thought-out plan." Sarah added, "We should collaborate with international agencies and experts who can help us decode and understand the scope of this organization. It's a global issue that demands a global response." Thomas, ever the pragmatist, concluded, "We've come this far by working together and supporting each other. Whatever lies ahead, we need to stay united and focused on our mission." As they prepared to embark on this new chapter, the group understood that their journey was part of a larger fight for truth and justice. The unexpected twist served as a reminder that the pursuit of integrity is an ongoing endeavor, one that requires unwavering commitment and resilience. With renewed determination, Barron, Emma, Sarah, and Thomas set forth to confront the new challenges, ready to uncover the deeper layers of deceit and continue their quest for a better, more transparent world.